Did the Los Angeles Lakers just back the Phoenix Suns into a corner? Let's talk about it now. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the PHNX Suns show, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Download that Bet365 app. Use the promo code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365. We've got plenty coming up for you on the program as we'll talk about the big Lakers trade that went down this weekend and how it impacts your Phoenix Suns. We'll look at New Year's resolutions that this team needs to deal with. And we have a very fun snake draft where I'm going to select Gerald having a baby as one of my picks. Gentlemen, how are you? We got Gerald Bourget. We got our friend Steven. I'm not even going to, I always butcher your last name. So I'm just going with Steven.
He's like free throws.
Prigion Gardner.
There you go.
There we go.
SPG in the house.
And I am, of course, Espo. Gentlemen, how was your one-day weekend?
It was great. Another one-day weekend. We love that. But mostly I'm eager for tomorrow night because tomorrow night is a chance for this team to bounce back. They feel positive about what they've been trying to build on, which I know a lot of us do not share that belief, but I want to see how they bounce back, and we also have a very fun event tomorrow night too.
I'm excited for the free booze in the suite that we're all attending for that PHNX event. So looking forward to seeing you guys there as well that are going to be joining us. How was your weekend, Steven?
It was good enough. Got a little bit of rest. Watched some non-Suns basketball, which I suggest for everyone to indulge in. There's a lot of other good teams in the NBA. That'll help break up the mundaneness of the whatever situation you want to use as an adjective to describe the Suns right now.
I know I'm not supposed to translate for you, but what he's saying is go watch some good basketball. It'll make you appreciate the game. Again, I want to say hi to Michael, Kara, Sean, Leo, Joel, Russell, and the whole crew that is in the chat right now. Hit that like button. We're going for over 100 before we reach the third segment of today's show. So get in there and make that happen. We are going to take a look at what happened at practice today in a new segment that we're calling That's What He Said. Gerald, you were out at practice today, and what kind of stood out from the guys to you?
Yeah, so first off on the injury front, because the Suns are dealing with like 5 different guys that are injured. In terms of Devin Booker and that left groin strain, Bud said he did practice today. He did almost everything. They got some 5-on-5 in, and Book was able to participate in that. Grayson Allen is in the same boat as Book, dealing with concussion protocol. So it's looking like hopefully maybe both of those guys will be back. We'll have to wait and see what their status is for tomorrow once we get the official injury report. But always falls back on the old, like we'll have to wait and see how they respond to today's work before deciding. So that's currently where we are at. But in terms of the symptoms that Grayson Allen was dealing with while he was in concussion protocol, this is what he had to say at practice.
Feel good now. No more concussion symptoms, nothing. Done a few days of ramp up through the 4 stages of concussion protocol, and it's all gone well, so I'm in a good spot now.
Are you looking to play tomorrow?
Hopefully, yeah.
What were kind of your symptoms, if you don't mind asking?
Just like fatigue, sleepiness, headache, motion sickness. Couldn't focus on anything for more than
Were you kind of seeing
a little bit
stars?
of a time. I didn't see stars when it happened, no. I got a concussion a few years ago. I got elbowed across the face, and I saw stars on that one. I think that one was a little bit worse. But just a few symptoms, they were kind of come and go. got a little bit worse the more I did. So some good rest. I was actually able to do a little bit of work even on like the first few days just to stay active a little bit. So it was good.
So it sounds like typical concussion symptoms, but he's feeling all right now and hopeful that he will play tomorrow.
How much of an impact do you think that gives this offense that's obviously been struggling lately?
Well, the game before the last where they couldn't hit the whatever little adage you want to use, hit the beach or hit the water from the beach, the side of the barn, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that game happens if you have Grayson Allen out there. If not, because he gets attention that's going to open someone else up. Also, if he's the one that's directly knocking down those shots opposite of Kevin Durant. So it's going to feel a whole lot more like order restored than anything else.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if he and Book are back out there, what Bud's rotations will be. He'll have some options that he's going to have to consider, but one guy he might not have is Royce O'Neal.
Yeah, so from the sound of it, Royce did not practice today, and I would imagine he's not going to play tomorrow. He did get some imaging done. This is what Budenholzer had to say about Royce.
He's had an image. I think overall it was positive. So I think that's kind of been the extent of the information I've been given. That I think it was a good ankle sprain, but the image was I think as positive as could be possible.
I really wish, I wonder, do they just like withhold information so there's plausible deniability? Like they don't tell the president where all the aliens are kept, so it's plausible deniability. Is that what they do with Coach Bud and the injuries? They're like, he had a picture, hand drawn, and it was good.
But it was a pretty picture.
It was a pretty picture.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. I do think because we've had so many coaches come through and kind of approach it similarly, I don't know if it's like a Suns thing, if it's a league-wide thing, or if it's just a 3-for-3 coincidence that we've gotten. But it does feel like either that's how they operate, that's kind of the status quo, or it takes some time for them to determine the severity. Because we have seen, like, even with Book's thing, like the first 2 games that he missed, it was left groin soreness. And then they diagnosed it as a strain a few days later. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on the injury, but
there's no medical staff. They're just like,
like that looks rough. I don't know. What do we want to call that? But
good picture though. Good picture.
Yeah, I would imagine he misses some time. Hopefully we'll get more of a timetable moving forward once they give us the injury report and have to actually diagnose it. But for now, I would imagine Royce misses tomorrow.
All right, guys, I got to ask you about one other thing that we saw. There was an image.
Another image.
A picture. Not hand drawn,
Okay.
not an X-ray, that our friend Dwayne Rankin put out there of Jusuf Nurkic and James Jones talking. Anybody want to baselessly speculate what they were talking about?
I'll answer for Steven, no.
I refuse. Yes, exactly, Gerald.
I'd like to imagine he was saying, so do you want to pay your fines in 20s, 50s, or 100s? Because we have to get that money to the league right now.
Yeah, I'm not touching that with a 30-foot pole, but I'm sure people will. I even saw it happening, and I was like, I'm not even going to bother recording this because
wait, the general manager talking to a player.
I don't want this. I don't want the smoke today. But I will say it was interesting to see Nurk on the court after practice because we typically don't see that by the time that we get in. Usually he's done with his work and getting work on the back or whatever. He was getting up threes after practice today, so I don't know if it's because he's putting in extra work to make sure he stays in shape because he's obviously serving that suspension and won't be playing for 3 games, if it was just a coincidence of when we got in there. But 99% of the time, Nurk is not on the court by the time we get in to the practice facility. So I did think that was interesting. I don't know why it was interesting exactly, but it's different than what we normally see.
Could it be as simple as Coach Bud didn't use him in practice because obviously he's not preparing for tomorrow's game, so he might have just needed to get his work in?
Well, I'm not sure because I feel like he's still able to practice. He just can't play. So I'm sure if they got 5-on-5 in, he was part of that. True. But yeah, I don't know.
What do you make of Coach Bud not having Nurk tomorrow, not having Royce, and what he's going to have to try to figure out as he reintegrates possibly Grayson and Book back in the lineup?
Not having Nurkic forces you to lean more into your versatility, and I think that is the space that he needs to be operating in with his entire breadth of talent at his disposal or if it's diminished. That's the streamline that he has to kind of strike with the roster. And I think there's no better chance to do it than, unfortunately, via injury or even worse, via suspension. And that's the situation he's in now.
Have you gotten any kind of feeling being out there what he'll have to do in terms of juggling this lineup?
In terms of without Nurkic?
Yeah, without Nurkic, and then with these guys potentially coming back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that things don't go back to being the status quo, because we've seen the impact that Ryan Dunn and Josh Okogie have had from an energy standpoint on this game, on these last couple of games, in fact. But I do think that Grayson coming back, Book coming back, obviously they're higher in the pecking order than those guys. I'm hoping that Ryan continues to get at least 15 to 20 minutes. That's minimum of what he should be getting. J.O. might be tough. J.O. might be the one that you have to slot him in for spot minutes, but with Royce being out, that does also open up some additional minutes for those guys. So hopefully we continue to see them get out there and have an impact, because without them in the last Warriors game, that could have been a blowout by halftime.
Yeah, unique thing with this lineup is with how injured they are, how often they are, there's always an opportunity for somebody. Look, we want to hear who you think should be part of the lineup and the rotation with guys coming back. So let us know in the chat, or if you want to become a diehard, you can join us in the diehard exclusive Discord, where you can become a member by going to gophnx.com. When you join, you're going to get access to that Discord lounge, which is 24/7 Arizona sports talk. Whatever you want to talk about, it's there, plus movies and a whole lot of other things that people get into. Plus, when you become a diehard, you're going to unlock all of Gerald's amazing content. You're not going to get better content anywhere else than what Gerald creates while he's out there at practice and post game. And by the way, you're only at, I believe that says 26 likes, so you're failing right now at your mission. But we will talk not more about that. We're going to talk about what the Lakers did over the weekend that puts the pressures on the Phoenix Suns when we come back. You know what doesn't put any pressure on me? Having Verizon Wireless as my cell phone provider and my home internet provider.
Oh, nice.
Because they are spectacular in terms of service, both what you get on your devices, but also the service if you ever need help with them, or if you're looking to switch. And right now, if you switch, you can get a $200 Verizon gift card just for joining. And it's that simple. Plus, they got great deals on phones and devices. You can bring over your own number. Whatever you're looking to do, Verizon can help take care of you. And they want to help take care of you in a different way as well. You can go to gophnx.com/Verizon right now and enter to win tickets to an upcoming Suns game on January 12th. It's the Suns versus the Hornets. Basketball is promised to be played. How well? We don't know. But you're going to get 4 tickets, and you're going to get free parking, brought to you by Verizon. Go to gophnx.com/Verizon. Thank you, Verizon, for hooking up our PHNX family. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends Friday, January 3rd, which is this Friday. And then we've talked about them. You love them. You know them. Our friends at Bet365. Right now, you can become a member over at Bet365, and they will have over 10,000 odds boosts this month alone. Or next month. I guess we're almost at the end of December.
Right,
so they're getting to the end of those 10,000 boosts, but it's super easy to take advantage of those. Plus, we have custom PHNX odds boosts that happen in there. You're going to want to be a part of that. Shane Diefenbach is the mastermind behind a lot of those, and I've ridden those to some victories. So become a member download the Bet365 app. Use that code PHNX365, and you are going to be able to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 or more. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer: must be 21 and over, physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. We teased it at the top of the show and before break, but the Los Angeles Lakers made a move this weekend for a name that many Suns fans had circled as somebody they'd like. I don't know if there was ever interest from the team, but fans certainly had their eyes on Dorian Finney-Smith, and he became a Laker as the Lakers send D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis, who 3 second rounders as well to the Nets for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. Not a milkshake, it's Shake Milton going back to the Lakers. This is the aggressiveness that Suns fans were hoping this team would show out the gates, but the Lakers, the first ones to make a fairly aggressive move, and they get their 3-and-D wing. Steven, how do you like it first off for the Lakers, and what do you think this does for the Suns in terms of potentially pushing them to need to make a move?
I think this is almost what the doctor ordered for the Lakers in many respects. They needed someone that's of plus size to make the defensive roles that they like to put LeBron James and Anthony Davis in more comfortable for them to do without having to toggle other rotation spots because of the lack of defense on the roster. But also someone that they can trust that's always going to be where they need to be and just infuse more versatility into their group. They were leaning a lot on Rui Hachimura to do probably more than he should be defensively. So now that you have Dorian Finney-Smith in there, he puts him in his more traditional role too. And it feels like it's a piece that they just really needed in multiple ways in that respect. And for the Suns, it doesn't change the urgency for them. It just takes a piece off the board that they could theoretically actually make a move for. So I guess, if anything, it just kind of shrinks the market in terms of optionality for them, but the urgency hasn't swayed.
Do you think what the Lakers gave up sets the market in any way that could cause problems for the Suns as they try to land a piece if they can?
Maybe. I think because a lot of Suns were looking at this trade like we could have matched that. I don't know if that's technically true because I think I mean, I guess so, but you would have had to give up probably Grayson, who I like a lot better as a contributor than a D'Angelo Russell, and the Lakers had to stack 3 second-round picks on top of that. So I think they could have matched it, but I don't know. This one's tough for me because I like Dorian Finney-Smith, but I do feel like if you've watched him over the last 2 years, he's gotten off to a very good start this season. Mm-hmm. But if you watch him over the last 2 years, there's a big difference between the people that are looking at DFS's numbers and what he did in Dallas because they remember that. Yes. Versus what he's done over the last couple of seasons in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. If he goes back to being Dallas and what he's shown so far this year, he's shooting a career high 43.5% from three. Those are definitely helpful. The Lakers could use that because they've kind of been cycling through different options for that fifth starter. I think DFS could probably be that guy. But I do think for the Suns, like Steven said, it does take a valuable piece off the board that you could have potentially pursued. Got to get a move on or all the good ones will be gone sort of line of thinking there. So we'll see. They still have time. I do believe that, but this was kind of the one wing piece that a lot of people were saying this guy's available. He would help the Suns. He would, check a lot of boxes for them. And now he's off the board. Yeah. And I think Shake Milton actually is a nice little depth piece as well for the Lakers. They didn't really give up a lot. When you look at it, D'Lo, they're actually talking about might be a buyout candidate in Brooklyn. No, the Suns, even if they wanted him, couldn't go after him. It would violate the second apron. But, so essentially it's a buyout and potentially and 3 second rounders. But yeah, I don't know that I would have wanted to give up Grayson for Dorian Finney-Smith necessarily. I think there might be some better options, and I wouldn't have given up 2031. No. Which may have been the asking price because you didn't have as many seconds. There's this whole song and dance is going to be extremely difficult, as you've made abundantly clear over the last handful of months. The second apron has handcuffed teams, in particular the Suns and their options. So that brings me to my question: what should be an option that we're looking at here? Because I look at that as the official starting pistol of the trade season there. So what should really be on the radar for the Suns? What should they be looking for? For me, it's addressing the center position first and foremost. We've talked about this for months. We talked about it in multiple different fake trades, but they need someone at the 5 spot that they can rely on. And right now, Nurk has been unreliable. We knew what his flaws were last year, and we saw it very up close and personal in that playoff sweep. And he's been even worse this season, a lot worse this season than he was last season. So if he's unable to turn it around, and I think most of us would agree that ship has sailed already, you need a reliable playoff-ready option. There aren't a ton of them out there in terms of what you could realistically trade for with limited draft picks, with all the restrictions you're up against as a second tax apron team. I'm going to keep going back to the Nick Richards boat because I do feel like if you're looking at guys that are A, available, B, attainable, and C, could potentially come in and show that they can perform in a starting role, like it's him and Goga Bitadze for me that are the two that I'm like, okay, maybe they could be a starting caliber center on a playoff team. Bitadze might be out of their reach at this point just because of how well he's played for Orlando, stepping in for injured guys at the center spot. They lost Mo Wagner for the season, so that's going to make him the asking price be a little bit higher. But if you could get one of those two guys, I think maybe they could pan out in a way that we haven't seen Nurk this year.
Can I break my own rule?
Sure.
And use the trade machine and throw a few things out at you? Because we all know friends don't let friends use the ESPN trade machine, but apparently you guys aren't my friends because I did. How about this one? The Trailblazers get Grayson Allen and 2 second-round picks for Robert Williams III.
Well, in addition to the two names that Gerald mentioned, the one that I'll probably mention most often because the asking price will likely be a lot less. And though there is inherent risk, we've seen a template for this player being successful on a team that had a chance at winning a championship in recent memory. And that's with Robert Williams. Yes, the injury, yes, we know. But the things that the Suns need their centers to do, the way they're featured on offense, dribble handoffs, spacing, and being viable within that, not as a shooter, but to connect actions and to still make a defense pay. Obviously, the vertical spacing and screening dynamic and short roll playmaking, he checks off all those boxes. You can even run splits from him at times. In addition to that, where all of his value or most of his value comes from defensively, the rim protection, he can be used as a piece to flip matchups and put Kevin Durant in positions where we've seen him be more successful, especially with the Warriors and kind of roaming. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the other big thing when he's in pick and roll, he's not going to be someone you can just go at and say, okay, we know we can get to if we go at him. He can play at the level. He can play a hedge past the level. He can obviously play drop and be effective in that. And more than all of that, he's a bigger piece. He's a bigger piece that has a type of vertical rim protection defensively that this Suns team hasn't had in quite some time.
And you forgot he fits a profile that they love. Fairly well paid and injured. So
come on, that's true too.
So he's I like Robert Williams because he's kind of the more polished option compared to someone like a Nick Richards. My problem is the asking price is going to be higher from Portland, even though they have like 17 centers on that roster. And the other problem for me is the injury piece, because I genuinely don't know if I'm looking at this equation and you have to give up Grayson to get this guy. Like, yes, Grayson has been injured, but Robert Williams, you look throughout his career, it's been a consistent recurring problem. And I don't know if you adding that to this Suns team where that's already their biggest issue helps. Like, a lot of stars would have to align. And if they do, I think you're in a much better spot. But if they don't, you're looking at a situation where this team might not even make the playoffs. And we're kind of already there, to be fair. But I don't know, it's very risky, and you're giving up a player that you just signed to a very team-friendly contract. You only get one chance. If you are going to trade Grayson Allen, you only get one chance to do it. You've got to make the most of it. And trading for an injury-prone guy scares me a little bit.
That would be the coolest little wrinkle in a contract if you could trade a guy twice. That'd be fun. I got one more, all right? Can I interest you and the Knicks in Grayson Allen for Mitchell Robinson and Cam Payne? Although I don't know if Cam Payne's parole officer will let him back in the state, but we'll
Terry Johnson. I don't think the Knicks do that.
I don't either.
Because I think if you replace Cam Payne with one of their other vet minimum guys, maybe. But again, similar answer, honestly. Like, Mitch Robinson would bring a lot. He's a monster on the offensive glass, which would be helpful for providing a very talented group of scorers extra possessions. I think defensively, he's a good rim protector. He would give you a lob threat. He's very limited offensively. Like, unless you're getting him lob dunks or putback dunks, he's not going to contribute much on that end of the floor. So, again, he's like a less injured version of Robert Williams.
That you should like that then, because
I actually do. I do actually. And to just kind of piggyback off of what Gerald's saying, Like, yes, he has his inefficiencies. He's not going to give you the short roll playmaking or any of those connective type of dynamics that a Robert Williams or even Bataze or Nick Richards would. But I think of maybe more value than what those three can bring in skill, the gravity he has as a roller, obviously assuming health, because that's very, very, very relevant.
Right.
If he's healthy and he's setting screens for Devin Booker and rolling, the impact in terms of the defensive capital that's going to have to shift to him and off of someone else that's obviously a three-point shooter on this Suns team could be of great value. It'll give them a different type of punch that their pick and roll hasn't seen since the spot JaVale McGee minutes in terms of the vertical spacing and the way the defense has to shift to account for that. So I think that could be of high value in addition to his offensive rebounding in tandem with that. And then obviously defensively he brings the rim protection that's loud as well. So I don't think the Knicks do it either, but it's a good template. That's the type of center they should be kind of trying to target.
Can we agree on something in principle as a group here?
Depends on what it is.
It's not as bad as other places I've gone in the past. When we do a hypothetical, since we cover the Phoenix Suns, we should always just have health assumed, right? Because we accept that these injuries are likely coming, but can we at least play in the fantasy land where they might not?
We can, but with Robinson, we do have to note that the last report we saw about 3 weeks ago was that he's unlikely to be cleared for game action until at least late January.
Yeah.
Which the trade deadline is like the week after that or two. So you have a very limited window where you get to see what Mitchell Robinson looks like coming off of an injury that's kept him out the entire season. For me, that's too much that has to fall into place perfectly.
To be fair, we still got to watch Nurk until the end of January anyways. He hasn't been cleared to actually have impact yet. So one of the things that I know both of you believe this team needs is size on the wing. And I think we all can agree a vocal leader around here. Gerald, is there anybody that you have in mind that could fit that role? Because I was looking around today, and I'm sure Steven, you were too, and I can't come up with anything in particular that I actually think could work or would make sense.
Yeah, there's not a ton that's out there for me.
I feel like DFS was probably the only one, and I still don't know that was the right fit.
No, I don't. I would have liked DFS on this team. He was probably one of the top wing prospects that I had in mind. But in terms of that vocal leadership component, I hate to keep going back to this, but it has to come internally. It has to come from within. When you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal on this team, those are the guys that need to step up. And we've talked about how many players and coaches have talked about KD's brand of leadership with his on-court work ethic, that he is more vocal than people give him credit for. We've talked about Devin Booker in film room being very vocal. But there are times and segments of games where it feels like the body language is bad, when it feels like the effort isn't where it should be, when a Ryan Dunn or a Josh Okogie check in and you see a noticeable difference in terms of the hustle or the heart or whatever you want to call it, the effort. And that just can't be the case. I know that this is a little bit older of a team that has a lot of veterans, but they need to provide that energy. It needs to come from within, because I don't think a trade is going to check that box, really. There's not a lot of guys that really stand out to me in that respect that you could go out and trade that would actually help you on the court and help you in the locker room.
Steven, I think you and I might be of the belief that guy isn't in the locker room.
Yeah, that's the catch-22 with this. It's not fair to any individual to expect them to come in brand new to your context and be able to instantly hold guys to account.
Right.
Without having built up sweat equity. Respect might already be there, especially if you ask someone like, let's say, Jimmy Butler. The respect is obviously going to be there, but without you knowing what my middle name is, you're not going to be able to call me out about being late on the X out. You feel me?
Damn.
So when you get to that point, it's like, okay, then there's an integration period that has to take place, and you have to build up reps over film, get to know each other's weaknesses, because you can't just come in and speak on other people's mistakes without in turn also being able to be spoken on if you make a mistake. So just the relationship building dynamics is unrealistic to expect for someone to come in and just instantly stamp that. But I do feel like that, I know Gerald mentioned Denny Avdia. These are very much dependent upon how the other team values whatever assets the Suns decide to put on the table for them, it's just a catch-22 right now, honestly.
So we hope we made you feel better by telling you we don't know and we're not sure what the path is. But the Lakers did get better, so we got that going for us. After the break, we are going to take a look at what the New Year's resolutions for the Phoenix Suns should be. We'll be right back. Oh, after that last segment, I could use some sweet, sweet flower. And our friends over at Colt Cannabis and True Leaf have it for you because our friends at Colt Cannabis are now at your local True Leaf with a huge variety of premium flower, not non-premium flower, not the stuff that you used to get in the 80s at a school locker. No, this is the real deal, the good stuff. I was like 6 in the 80s, so I don't know why I said that. But the Valley has been asking for her, and now she's back, baby. The True Leaf, head to trueleaf.com because you're going to be able to get True Leaf's exclusive magic marker. Head there and find it at your local shop and order and tell them that PHNX sent you because that's what we want you to do. Great flower is hard to find these days, but you can find it with our friends at Colt Cannabis and at True Leaf. Go to trueleaf.com to find your local shop or place an order and tell them we sent you. Fiesta Bowl, baby. Viva Fiesta! It's a battle of the Cats. It's the Penn State Nittany Lions versus the Boise State Horsies. Yeah, so I guess it's not cats. It's cats and horses for you there. But it is one of the best bowl games that you can go to. It's the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. It kicks off tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Tickets are still available to see Boise State, powered by one of the nation's leading running backs, take on Penn State's vaunted defense in the first ever college football quarterfinal. Come early for the New Year's Eve fiesta that starts at 2:30 p.m. And the Fan Fest pregame party. It's a block party leading into the big game. Bands, cheerleaders, fun games, food, beverages, and so much more. So join us for the first ever college football quarterfinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Buy your tickets, reserve parking and premium experiences at fiestabowl.org/tickets, and Viva Fiesta! Yep, tomorrow's New Year's Eve, boys.
It is.
We will be working a game, so we'll see the ball drop probably in this studio. But we have New Year's resolutions that we got to hand out for this team because you know what? They need some help in 2025, and we got to get there. And I'm going to start with you, Steven. Do you have a specific resolution for this team?
Yes, I do. I'll start with my first, maybe the most chief one. And that's more a care factor on the defensive end of the floor. I feel like we've done a great job of documenting the shift from where they were earlier in the season to since they came as close to whole as they have been at the beginning of the season the last couple of weeks, the stark shift in the impact and effectiveness of their defense in a sustained manner. And I think the most direct outlet to achieving that consistency on that end of the floor, leaning into the players that have shown you that when they're on the court, regardless of what the offensive end shows, they bring you value that you can't replicate on the defensive end. That starts with Ryan Dunn, trickles to Oso Ighodaro, and also from the last handful of games includes very much in a hefty manner Josh Okogie. Those are probably your 3 best defenders, excluding Kevin Durant. And the things that they bring in terms of versatility in particular are kind of pillars that this context of the Suns needs to lean on a whole lot more. And before I dive into more, I want to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it was pretty noticeable that when we were talking to Grayson Allen today about, having to take a step back, be out the last few games and watch from afar what stood out. And he pointed specifically to that care factor, that effort piece. This is what he had to say.
Well, we had a couple games where there was a very big difference in the energy and feel of the game, and I don't remember which game, but the game 2 games ago and first 3 games ago, I think it was. 2 games ago, we got that win. Energy was great. Everyone was having fun, excited. Even when the game was close or through bad stretches. I thought J.O. and Ryan did a great job for our energy too. It felt like they made plays to really bring some life into the whole group, but it just seemed like that game just looked, and I'm sure it felt different out there on the court.
So when the dude who is competing with Josh Okogie and Ryan Dunn for minutes is explicitly calling them out and praising them for bringing the effort, like, it's pretty noticeable to everyone in that locker room who is providing the energy right now. That has to be consistent across the board. It can't be to a rookie and a role player coming off the bench who are coming in and setting the tone for you. It has to be the other guys. And I think on Christmas Day, Beal did a good job of helping set that tone. But the tone has been a little inconsistent since then. We've seen the offense struggle to keep up with the defensive strides that they've made over this last week. Now they need to get both on the same level. I think Booker and Grayson coming back will help them with that, but they cannot have a fall off in what they've found on the defensive end over these last few games. They have to find a way to continue to sustain that energy and execute at a much better level with their better scorers on the floor again.
I find it interesting, to your point, that Grayson is praising guys that he's directly competing with for minutes, because, to me, that says a lot about where that locker room is, though, too, because it obviously, that energy, that push isn't coming from that trio at the top. I'm not calling them a big three anymore, by the way. I'm gonna call it a trio at this point.
I have that drives me nuts. They're the big three. I'm tired of people saying, stop calling them a big three. They're paid like a big three. They're expected to produce like a big three. And you know who the hell I'm talking about when I say big three. So stop coming in my mention saying, it's another big three. Shut up. I don't care. They're the big three.
But
get over it.
My New Year's resolution is
it drives me nuts.
Not do that to Gerald on purpose.
It's the dumbest thing that people fixate on. Like, oh, they're not a big three. Real original comment. I haven't seen that joke ever before. Congrats. Anyway. Sorry,
right. So after the break, and when we get Gerald, no, I'm just kidding. No, but I do find it interesting that Grayson is making those comments, praising guys he's fighting for minutes with, and I think it speaks to a larger problem that the energy isn't coming from those three guys, and that's tough, right?
Yes.
Like, because somebody in the chat said it, if you're relying on these guys in some cases, and in particular Josh Okogie, who's on the fringe of your rotation, to provide you that energy, that hustle, that defensive mindset, that may be more of a problem than anything, because that's kind of difficult to look at and try to figure out, because then it puts Coach Bud, like we were talking about, in the enviable position of figuring out, how do you play Ryan Dunn? How do you play Josh Okogie while playing all these other guys? Because those guys seem to be what the spark is right now.
Yeah. And that's where they're at right now. It's unfortunate, it's tough, but that's the balance that they have to find a way to strike.
Yeah.
And just to kind of bring it back full circle to my original comment, for some context, the defense with Kevin Durant and Ryan Dunn on the floor, just those two, without a center, so without Nurkic and without Plumlee, a 107.4 defensive rating. That is in the 88th percentile in 135 possessions where they've spent non-garbage time minutes on the court together. 47.5 efficiency in terms of their defensive field goal percentage allowed as well. So really, 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 really good. Look at that specifically with Iguodala and KD. It drops to 98.9 in their defensive rating. And that's in, 182 possessions. That lineup is also plus 6.6 in terms of its net. Now you put all three of those in those players in the same lineups together, 85.7 defensive rating. And that also drops down to 69 in the half court.
Okay.
So you take the numbers, you take whatever they do on offense, because you see the value they bring on defense, you throw in Devin Booker, you throw in Bradley Beal, throw in whatever rotation of your guards that you want to with that. That's a template that's shown to be successful in a sustained manner. I just got to lean on them more to see how much you can actually get out of it.
I'm going to ask the question because I know some people probably are wondering it. When you talk defensive rating, you want that number to be lower.
The lower, the better. Absolutely. And those numbers I mentioned are all absolutely elite. Like 90th percentile of the league or better.
So what you're saying, that 69% is nice, right? Okay. I'm going to move on to my resolution.
When I typed it, I knew somebody, and somebody, I mean him, was going to say something.
No, I actually wanted it explained because I think some people have that question a lot. But mine is simple. Let point guards be point guards. Stop putting your point guards in the corner and putting guys running the offense at key sections of the game that shouldn't be necessarily, right? I'm not saying that they shouldn't have the ball in their hands, but I don't want Kevin Durant getting it dumped to him at the top of the key and forcing him to be the guy that has to create the offense in final minutes of games. There was a reason in that 6:45 to end that game the other night that the offense ground to a halt, right? And I think they so much try to get Book and KD and Beal the opportunity to be that point man in those late minutes, where I think they could get a better result by putting them in the best position possible and letting the point guard you brought in who doesn't turn over the ball get it to them.
Well, we talked about this after the last post game, so I don't want to dive into it too deeply, but I will say, like, you're absolutely right. We saw it at the end of last game where Tyus Jones was like 3 for 11 and was standing in the corner for a lot of those possessions late in the games. Like, Bradley Beal is good in attack mode, but having him initiate in terms of making the decisions and setting up the offense, like we saw the offense get stagnant. Beal kind of struggles with that. KD, we saw him have an 8 turnover game. And after the game, he pointed to the fact that a lot of his turnovers came from late clock possessions where he kind of got the ball in tough positions and had to make something happen. But I went back and watched those turnovers, and that was only like 2 or 3 of them. There were another 4 or 5 where it was just getting stripped or getting doubled or just losing the ball. So those two have to be better, but you also have to put them in better positions, because why would you go out and get not 1, but 2 point guards, even at that low price, if you're not going to put them in positions to do what you brought them here to do? And that was frustrating to watch at the end of the Warriors game. And it was actually something that I asked Coach Mike Budenholzer about at practice, and his answer was a little wishy-washy.
A little bit of both. I think, the ball in Brad and Kevin's hands at the end of the game is always going to be important for us. And Ty's ability to make big shots and play off the ball has been a good thing for us. So, I think spacing-wise we could be a little bit better. Execution could be a little bit better. But, where and how we use Tyus and everything, well, he's certainly – capable. I think we got to be able to do a little bit of everything, including what we did the other night.
If you read between the lines in terms of what Book has been saying, what Budenholzer have been saying about Tyus's aggression as a scorer, how they need him to look to score and be aggressive, you can kind of see that, like, they are going back to what we were saying last year in terms of why this team, a point guard could help, but it's not going to change everything, because they still want KD and Book and Brad to be the main initiators. They want the ball in their hands. So you're having this situation where you need those 3 guys as your top scorers to be starting offensive sets, but you also need Tyus Jones to be able to do what he does, especially on nights where he's not shooting the ball well, like that Warriors game. So they're still figuring that out. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we're going to see this New Year's resolution fulfilled, because it feels like they are telling Tyus, we need you to be aggressive off the ball. We need you to continue shooting the ball at a high clip, attacking closeouts with your floaters. But in terms of actually handing the offense over to him fully, we're never going to see that. And that was always my chief concern with going out and getting a point guard. Oh,
great. You bought a sports car and you're only driving it in school zones. What's the point? I'd rather have Grayson in there if you're just going to jam a guy in a corner and have him shoot.
Yeah, me and Gerald spoke a lot about this last season on Take That for Data. You can't add a player who clearly brings value in a specific manner and then expect to shift everything that they do, but still expect for them to give you the value in other ways. Like for Tyus, at times, yes, he can give you those things off the ball, but it's not going to be the same as if he's not initiating and then getting into that. There's a sequencing that needs to take place for him, but past just him, there's a sequencing that needs to take place for your team. The Suns are at their best on offense when they kind of strike. It's not the exact same script, but the script is very similar. The slightest bit of movement to get the defense toggling their rotations and positioning. Then you get into whatever your primary action is. If the primary action isn't there, because the pieces on the board are shifting around, now you can, in an advantageous manner, get into a secondary or tertiary type of layering of your offense. But without having him initiating, it just doesn't hit the same. And we saw them hit that wall in the clutch, specifically against the Warriors, because of some of that.
I want to get to a couple more resolutions, and I want to do our draft, but that'll come up right after this. I tested Noah's skills there, and he followed along with me. We're talking about our friends over at Circle K. This morning, I looked down, and I realized I wasn't going to make it to work if I didn't stop at Circle K. And that was because I didn't have a soda. And then I looked at my gas gauge, and I went, oh, I gotta get gas too. Good thing I'm headed to Circle K. I can get both there. And you know what? You can become part of their Inner Circle right now. As an Inner Circle member, all you gotta do is download their app and sign up in there. It is super easy, and you're gonna get 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups. Then you're going to get 3 cents off after that. And when you reach the ESPO level, which just means you spend a lot of money on gas, you can get 5 cents off from there on. Plus, they got great deals on all sorts of food and beverages that they sell there when you're part of the Inner Circle. So let help thirst meet its match and join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And you know what, boys? They're back, and they're better than ever.
Oh,
our friends over at Shady Rays. Yeah, I'm putting them over my glasses because I'm blind and can't read if I don't do this. But doesn't it? That's exactly. I actually love these sunglasses. My wife has now stolen 2 pairs from me because she loves them as well. And you can get your own Shady Rays today. The sunglasses rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And right now, because you're a viewer of PHNX Suns, you're going to get 35% off polarized sunglasses when you use the code PHNX. They are some of the highest quality sunglasses that you're going to get. You can see they're tinted. I have a purple pair as well. They are fantastic. I love them. And you can get them in prescription lenses, which is my next step, so I can read while wearing them. So if your shades ever go missing, also, they're going to take care of you. They've got a money back guarantee for broken or missing sunglasses. So head to Shady Rays right now and use the promo code PHNX for 35% off your polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Gentlemen, a couple more things I want to get to in terms of resolutions. Was there one that you felt was immensely important?
I'm just going to speed through a couple. They got to put more pressure on the rim. They are dead last in the league in terms of field goal attempts around the rim, but they are first in accuracy, which is insane. They got to get to the rim more. They got to put more pressure on the rim. They got to avoid rashes of turnovers because we've talked about this. They're actually top 10 in terms of taking care of the ball, committing the 9th fewest turnovers per game. It's just, if you look at the quarters that they lose where it feels like they go dead, that seems to be when they commit the majority of their turnovers and they give their opponents easy offense. They've got to find a way to cut down on those exact quarters where it feels like everything just goes to hell. The third quarter, you got to be better coming out of halftime. There's just no excuse for coming out flat. It feels like, they're at home games. Sure, the audience is slow to trickle back in from concessions, but it happens on the road too. And the Suns play like that exact feeling in the building where fans are starting to come back in and ease into the second half.
If that's an excuse, then Matt Ishbia should make hot dogs cost $2,000.
It's not an excuse. They play the exact way every arena slowly fills up to start the second half. You got to come out immediately and play that way. And we've talked about this. Like, you got to play the rookies more. You got to play Ryan Dunn more. You got to play Oso Ighodaro more. And despite Dunn's poor 3-point shooting, just there's value in him getting up reps even when he's missing, even when he goes 1 for 5 like last game. I actually asked Ryan about that at practice today, and here's what he had to say.
Look at the shooting percentages, the 3 ball. We've talked a lot about this, but how much does getting out there and being able to actually get up those reps in game make a difference? I know you shot 1 for 5.
I don't care. I shot 5 threes, man. I don't care if I shot 1 for 5. I'm gonna keep shooting them. It's good for me. Now it's getting to see those misses and getting that feel of when you're fatigued and when you keep shooting when you're fatigued. Make sure you have the same rep and mental space. So it's been great for me. Like I said, they've been giving me a lot of confidence to keep shooting no matter what's going on. Close game, blowout, make or miss, just keep getting them up.
We love to hear that because it's a good long-term approach, and not just short-term. Like, they obviously need him to shoot when he's on the court. He can't be a guy that's, pump faking or dribbling out of wide open looks. But long-term for his development, it's good that he is getting as many reps as possible. And it could help later in the season as well. And then my last one, this is one that they really don't have a lot of control over. So I don't know if it's a resolution as much as it's a wish for 2025, but you got to get healthy. You've only had 11 games with the big three, which is just not going to be enough so far. They played a fewer percentage of games with the big three healthy than they did all of last year. And last year it was only 50%. This team is built around those three players with role players meant to complement them. And when you don't have all three, you're going to see results like we've seen. Like, everybody was on Devin Booker because he wasn't playing well enough at the start of the season when KD was out. And that was true. But he was also seen in an insane amount of double teams. We've seen Kevin Durant hit with those same double teams over the last couple of games, and we've seen the turnover totals skyrocket for him. So it's not as much as he's getting buckets. You need all three of those guys to alleviate the spacing and to put your role players in their proper positions. And only until that happens are we going to see this team potentially start to play better. It can be true that they need the big three to reach their ceiling, and they also should have been better over the last few weeks with one of those guys out.
All right, my last resolution is to be better at ad reads when I'm hosting. Because
nice.
Somebody in the chat, I believe it was Hello, said I'm at Nurk levels of ad reads today. So apparently I'm about to slap somebody and get suspended from reading ads for 3 games.
That's rough.
I want to read some super chats. Our friend Psycho Blue on the $9.99 super chat says, B-Ball Cthulhu wonders if Vogel is looking at KD right now saying, "This is why I put you in the corner. Turnover boy." This is a joke, by the way, getting your sets faster and tighter to help KD out.
Not turnover boy.
Oh, and we are down bad when BComC clearly gives us $2 just to say, "Corbin Burns is my new man. Don't tell Marte." All right, we won't tell Marte. Don't you worry. And BComC clearly again with the $2 super chat says, "When is baby daddy Booker coming back? I miss him." Hopefully tomorrow, as Gerald brought up. Devin Pattinson with the $1.99 super chat asks me, "So D-backs podcast gone forever?" No, I talked with Derek Montilla today. We were finalizing, hopefully getting him back in here and doing our show starting soon. Talk about Corbin Burns and all the other moves that the Diamondbacks have made. So don't worry, we will have Diamondbacks chat. It's coming up soon. We got a fantasy draft that, well, not fantasy. I mean, I guess some of it could be fantasy if I make up my picks here. We're gonna draft some of our best 2024 moments here. And since I am a nice man who cares for each and every one of you, I decided to do this in reverse age order. So I will go last since I am the oldest person here. We will go with the youngest in the group. It's Stephen Pergion Gardner, who is 21. I believe. So, 21.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we have different parameters for each round, correct?
Yeah. Since you made it, why don't you share it with me?
So because we can't just do Sun stuff because, let's be honest, that'd be a lot. Our round one is going to be the best Suns moment of the year. That's going to be our pick. Round two, we're going to look at our best movie of 2024. Round three, best TV show. Round four, best album of the year. And then we will round it out with a positive, our best personal moment of the year. So, Steven, you go ahead and kick us off with your best Suns moment of 2024.
The best Suns moment of 2024. Me personally, just kind of looking back on it, I would have to say, what was it, 55 that Devin Booker had in Indiana?
Oh, he had 62, 60, I think.
Excuse me, 60, yes, 62. That game, just because it didn't matter what Indiana was trying to do to him. He just could care less. And he was everything you want from three-point shooting, middies, getting to the cup, getting to the free throw line. He did it all. He was even playing defense that game. That's the space you want him to be in when it matters most. And that was just one very loud example. And I was fortunately there in person. And every time he had the ball, Indiana, the fans, I was like just kind of scouring. They were like, "Oh my God, not again! Oh my God, not again!" And I saw a lot of kids with his jersey. Some people had his high school jersey on in there. It was a nice moment. So that's one of the highlights for me.
And that was coming off, I think, a 46-point game against Dallas, either the game before or whatever. He was on a heater at that point in time. That is a good one. I will take a different. Well, I mean, I have to take a different one, but I had a different one lined up anyway, just because I think that one did that one come in a loss.
Yes.
Okay, that came in a loss. So I'm gonna go with the KD game winner, the double clutch on the Bulls, where they came back from 23 points down. I think KD had like 43 points. That was something special because we had seen the Suns fall into this trap of falling behind against teams they should be beating, and it was one of a couple of moments last season where they proved, okay, when we flip the switch, we're something deadly. So it was hard not to feel hope, even with the way they started the game. And that double clutch game winner was exactly what you got KD for. So that's going to be mine.
Makes sense, both of you. It took me a while to look at this and go, what was the Suns moment? I think it was the final 10 games last year of the regular season.
Really?
Because it gave hope, right? They went 7-3. They dug themselves out of the play-in. You thought, oh, here's the momentum. They're healthy. This is what it is, right? Yes. So that was the last time I felt hopeful. You know, I felt like, okay, this team is who we thought they were when healthy. So I'm gonna go with that.
You do remember though what one of the three was?
Oh yeah. I mean,
it was the game when they were down like 35-4 against the Clippers. I don't know if we were feeling much hope then.
It worked its way through. I got over that going, it was just one of those things, you know, I lied to myself. I'm good at that. So best movie is what I get.
Yes, you are on the clock for best movie.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay. All right.
That's easy for me.
I very much enjoyed that. I'm going to go with Dune Part 2. That was a damn good movie. And it was one of the more epic movies I've seen in a while. It worked as just like a normal blockbuster for normal people and like an actual really well done piece of art. So I'm gonna go Dune Part 2.
I really enjoyed Dune Part 2, and I hadn't watched Dune Part 1. Well, I saw it before, but I hadn't seen it in theaters, and I watched it right before I went in. And I'm not a sci-fi fantasy guy at all, but I really actually enjoyed that movie, both of them. So I think that's a good pick. How about you?
I actually did not get a chance to see movies this year.
Any?
As far as going, nothing new.
Okay.
I was a little locked in. I had this little transition that took place late in the year.
Okay.
That got me here. So I haven't seen any. You know what? I take that back. I did go see Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
So
you
by
can't
default,
take it though, sorry.
Okay, so it's already been drafted. So I mean, we could give you some suggestions if you want. We could do. All right, I just saw Nosferatu yesterday. That was really good. I don't know if you're a horror movie guy or not. Wicked was actually really good. I enjoyed that a lot. I'm trying to think. Longlegs was good.
We're missing something from early in the year that I'm.
What's that?
I'm spacing.
Oh, you're trying to think of what it is.
I know there was a good movie that came out earlier in the year, and I'm spacing on it.
Sonic
now.
3.
Sonic 3. Yeah.
Sonic 3.
That came out recently.
That's me by default then.
Sonic 3.
Oh yeah,
Sonic's your guy. That's right.
All right. Okay. I'll give you that.
That's my dog.
All right. So, Ted Offensive said Substance. I heard great things.
I still need to see that,
on
Ted.
my list to watch. So round 3 is TV show, and you get first.
Favorite TV show of 2024?
Yeah.
It would be Power Book 3 for me. Specifically, it's the one where the main character of the Power series, his son is going off to college and getting into the drug game and all of that stuff. So for me, it's going to be Power Book 3 Ghost.
Okay. I'm going to go with Shogun. That was amazing. It won the Oscar, or not the Oscar, the Emmy this year for Best TV Show or Best Drama. And I'm excited because I was like, as soon as I saw the trailer for I was like, that show's going to be really good. And it really was. Like, it lived up to the hype, and it was even better than I thought it would be.
So you had made up your mind before you even watched it that it was going to be good?
Well, I could tell from the trailer. I was like, this is going to be really good. Then I watched it, and it won like every award. Like Anna Sawai won for Best Actress. It was. Have you watched it yet? You haven't watched Shogun yet.
No, I have not. It's on my list, as is The Penguin, which I want to take, but
that was really good.
I can't because I would be a fraud if I took it. I'm going to take Shrinking.
That's a
I've
great one.
massively enjoyed
Mhm.
season 2, probably even more than season 1 of
Mhm.
it. So I'm going to take that.
Shrinking's great because it's like it's comedy. It's very lighthearted and optimistic, but it'll also like punch you in the feels every now and then.
It has some really, really dark moments too,
Yeah.
with some of the subject matter.
It does.
But I think that one just stood out to me, and I like it that much. By the way, if you're watching us on TV, head over to gophnx.com because all the fun continues there, our shows and everything, and Gerald's writing. So head over there. So we move into the next round, and it is best album of 2024. Is that correct?
It is.
So, and I have the first pick here, and I am.
I'm worried about what you might take here
Are you really? You
because
really?
I think it might be the same answer as my wife, and that worries me.
It's the Rob Schneider spoken word album. No,
Don't do it. Don't you do it?
what?
Because you know it wasn't
What?
that good.
No, you know what? I'm new to this one, right? And I actually have enjoyed it more than I thought.
Okay.
It's along the same vein of what you're thinking,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go Sabrina Carpenter Espresso.
Oh, look at you. Okay.
Buddha the Schizo's album was good too, but that wasn't put out this year, as he said.
Okay.
That's in my car right now.
What was
Okay.
your favorite song from Buddha Schizo?
Well, I don't. It's in my car right now. I don't have a CD player, but it's in my car, so it's one of my favorites, though.
Okay.
I'll tell you that, and it's a signed copy, so it's good.
It is a signed copy. All right. I'm gonna take GNX by Kendrick Lamar. This is. I mean, I could name a bunch of albums that are in my genre of music that no one would know any of their names, but I'm gonna go with GNX.
Okay.
Kenny G is my favorite that you like.
That is
so.
the wrong Kenny. That is not Kung Fu Kenny. That is saxophone Kenny.
That's why I like him. Steven, your pick for album of the year.
Mine is gonna be "Might Delete Later" by J. Cole.
Okay.
A lot of different flows, different raps, different perspectives, storytelling, street raps, raps for rappers that have gotten what they wanted and are trying to figure out what's next.
Mhm.
All of that is there in punchlines galore, all of that fun stuff. So
Fun fact: I wanted to call this show "Might Delete Later."
yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
Have you seen some of our episodes?
No, that's valid.
So our final category is personal moment, best personal moment, which is our final round, and you can start.
best personal moment is me getting here.
Wow, you had a rough 2024.
Just all of the many different efforts and juggling the time and sacrifices over all these years, especially in this sports media space post-graduation, you can get lost. And I kind of trusted, my faith and my efforts and betting on myself. And I got here and we're still building. So
Love
that
it.
would be my moment for 2024.
Gerald?
Good, man. Love it. This is a tough one, man, because I'm choosing between getting married and finding out I'm going to be a father. I don't really know how to choose between those
I think
two.
it could be both.
Nope, I think
Starting
you
my
gotta,
family.
You got to choose one.
You're going to pick the other one?
There's one. Yes, that's actually what my board is. Whatever Gerald doesn't pick about his life.
Okay. All right. Man, I feel like finding out that Amy was pregnant was a beautiful moment, but I think the wedding, I'm going to pick that one because then I think it could be replaced next year by the actual like birth and having a son come into the world. Like I think that's how I'm going to go about it. So I'm going to take my wedding.
So
Okay.
I'll say this:
Mhm.
finding out that I was going to be a father is one of the most amazing moments I've ever had. But it is so weird
Mhm.
that there is a stick that your significant other peed on as a central plot point of
Yeah.
finding out that you're going to be a parent.
Really brings down the vibe.
Isn't it a little weird? like we were at a restaurant and my wife went to take the test because we had both had long days and she thought so. She comes running out, showing me she's pregnant. It was the most amazing feeling. And then later on, I realized literally what was involved in it. Right? And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, so I'm lucky that Amy, because she went out and bought like a little toy elephant for the baby, and she bought like a blanket and like a little like shirt that said going to be a dad or whatever. And so I opened it, and it wasn't just, like sticks
That's
that were
fair.
peed on. So
That's fair.
I did think she put it in a box that was like a very small box. And when I was opening, I thought it was cake. And she literally recorded, and I'm like, is it cake? And she's like, no, not cake.
It could be if you name the child that.
Well, so it won't be cake.
It won't be cake.
So with
No,
my
not
final
at
pick
all.
is
Mhm.
Gerald getting married. No, my final pick. There's a lot that I could choose from. I mean, becoming GM here was special to me and important to me. Which is I don't take that lightly. But I think this year it was watching my wife be in a musical.
Mhm.
It's something she's always wanted to do, and she got the opportunity to do it. And it was a lot of work from my parents and her parents. Watching our daughter and stuff, and me, doing that too. But that's kind of part of my job. So that meant a lot to me. So that was probably my best. So I'll go through mine. The Suns moment of 2024 was the final 10 games, although Gerald poo-pooed on it.
A lot.
But the best movie of 2024 was Deadpool and Wolverine in my mind. The best show, Shrinking. The best album, Espresso, by Sabrina Carpenter, which, I was going to go Taylor Swift, but I got shamed out of it. And then
It wasn't
seeing
that good, it.
And it wasn't. And then it's just too much music and not enough bangers. And then seeing my wife star in a play. Let's take a look at what Stevens was.
Yeah, mine was Devin Booker scoring 62 for the first one, being the Suns moment. Movie of the year, though I haven't seen it yet, was Sonic 3. TV show was Power series, or excuse me, Power book 3 of the series. A handful of spinoffs. This is the first one. Album of the
I
year.
thought this was a Devin Booker documentary, Power of Book.
No.
No.
All right,
Not even close. My fourth album of the year was Might Delete Later by J. Cole. And my fifth was Moving Here to Phoenix, but I would be remiss if I did not mention two other things that were in competition here. One of which, right before I moved out here, I won a flag football championship.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I also won MVP in doing so.
Let's go.
My third season playing quarterback. I never played quarterback before. I always been a receiver. So it was new. A lot of challenges that came with that. And it was fun.
Did you wear number 8?
No. It was
Number 3.
You didn't go the Lamar? All right.
No, I couldn't do the Lamar
Alright,
thing. I had to stay true to me.
Okay.
And then the other one for me, my girlfriend works in partnership with Jordan Brand, the women's collective.
Mhm.
And they had a shoe that they had released over the last, I think it was maybe 5 weeks ago now. So just seeing everything that went into that and the response has been everything.
That's awesome.
Steven, that's really cool. But I have to let you know that now that I know you have ties to Jordan Brand, you and I have
Oh,
beef.
it's over.
So
Oh,
Gerald,
no.
what was your 5 here?
Yeah, so my number one moment was the KD game winner in that 23-point comeback against the Bulls earlier in the season or late last season. My best movie was Dune Part 2. My best show was Shogun. My best album was GNX by Kenny. And my top moment was marriage finding out I'm going to be father and a honeymoon in Thailand, which were pretty good follow-ups.
So many
I had a good year.
jokes. I'm leaving the jokes to other people. You're going to have a great 2025. You're going to become a dad officially in 2025.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at becoming 42. this
Yeah,
year,
no.
so.
And I'm glad we got to end the show on a little positivity because I know it's been negative. There's still some
Mhm.
negativity in the chat. One person in particular showing their whole ass, but it's good to be positive every once in a while.
Hello, I'm
Definitely.
sorry he's talking about you like that. I'm so
Listen,
sorry.
you're good-
hello,
you're good,
keep
Howard.
calling me Dak and making these Dak comparisons. We're going to have smoke. Knock it off.
I do want to read one more super chat. I didn't read it when we were reading the others because I knew we were getting into kind of a fun segment. But Ben says, sorry to hear about Lindsay and the others. I'm a Mavs fan, but check in from time to time. Keep your heads up. Can't be an easy time. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
We do appreciate it. It is, this has been a tough couple of weeks for our entire family here at PHNX, and for those that are still our family, even though they're not our co-workers right now. So thank you, Ben. We will end it there, as you can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourgay. You can follow Steven at Steven PG3. The 3 is there because he has an unhealthy obsession with Chris Paul. Just kidding.
Wow.
You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Espo. Remember, you can catch us tomorrow post game after the Grizzlies game. And you know what? I don't know whose ass is out, according to Gerald, but you all been a little whack in the chat, but we love you all. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.